is amazing! It's like everyone's giving their energy now. Yeah! Dad!
Yeah! 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 All right! Go, Dad!
Satan! 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 Satan!
I want to talk about energy harvesting and the demonic, how unclean spirits and demons use our fear to give them more power and physical reality. These are incorporeal beings, and maybe you would agree, you have to decide for yourself, that this planet is lousy with demons like fleas on a mangy hound. In the Bible, Jesus asked the guy, he said, "What's your name, demon?" And the demon said, "Our name is Legion, for we are many." And then he cast the demons out into the herd of swine, and he drowned them because there's so many demons in the one guy. You know, a legion is like how many soldiers? Like 6,000 maybe? I'm not sure. I should really check that before I keep referencing it. So this idea that demons or unclean spirits or ghosts, if you want to call them ghosts, they feed off of our fear, and then they use that to make themselves more substantial. There's also the idea that, if you don't believe in demons, great, but if you do, it's kind of an empowering thing for them. How could that possibly be? Well, because of your fear. It's a difference between somebody having sleep paralysis and not being able to move and being terrified, and somehow you're giving energy to shadow people with red glowing eyes or whatever it is you see, or the Hat Man or the Benadryl Man or whatever. But when you get to the point when you're angry and you're in sleep paralysis and you want to get them, you want to fight them, or you call out, and even if you are afraid and you call out the name of Jesus Christ, well, that's how you know that these beings know fear too. And when you call on that name, they get scared and you wake up. That's how alien abductions end. There's countless alien abduction stories where people are Christians, or they're not Christians, and they just call out in Jesus' name, and then they wake up and their alien abduction experience is over. Probably because the alien abduction experience is part of the realm of the demonic. I'm going to reference movies now because what I'm talking about has permeated movies for decades, and it's in books and novels and stuff. And I'll give an example of both right now. There's an old Stephen King story called Skeleton Key, which is a movie with Kate Hudson they made probably in the early 2000s. Or maybe it was the 1990s even. So Kate Hudson is tricked into believing in witchcraft and voodoo magic, and she doesn't believe, but the whole premise of the movie is that there are people there's a witch that wants to steal her body, so they have to get, the witch and her boyfriend have to get Kate Hudson to believe in witchcraft and voodoo, and then they can steal her body, and then the old witch, the old voodoo lady, gets put inside the body of young, beautiful Kate Hudson. And that's how the movie ends. Once they get her to believe in all this stuff, then they can trick her. They're harvesting her energy, they're harvesting her fear. There's also the movie Ghost. I have Skeleton Key too, facing the wrong way. I have the movie Ghost too, whatever. I have both of them. I have Skeleton Key and I have Ghost, but I don't have I'm not gonna go look around through boxes of DVDs to find Skeleton Key, like you give a shit anyway. So, in Ghost, with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore, winner of 2 Academy Awards, is about how ghosts are weak, and in reality there aren't ghosts. When people died or ghost doesn't stay around, God deals with them. So people, when they die, they go wherever God decides, okay? And in the old days it used to be Hades or Sheol or whatever, and then Jesus showed up, and now probably people get into heaven. I remember the first time the dead walked the earth was when Jesus was resurrected, and then it says, and this is the first time the dead walked the earth, and there was a bunch of saints that were released, and people saw the saints walking around praising God, and they're like, what's that mean? That's in the Bible. So in this movie, in Ghost, Patrick Swayze dies, which isn't what really happens, and he sees like demons and unclean spirits and stuff, and the other ghosts don't have a lot of energy, and it takes like a lot of concentration and focus and energy for a ghost to like move like a safety pin, or to move a piece of paper, or to blow a door open or whatever. Well, why am I mentioning that in this? Because it's energy harvesting. I think how it works in real life is that there's no ghosts of dead people. Your grandpa's not watching you when you make love to your wife or anything like that, okay? He's not here anymore. So there's no communication with the dead. That's why in the Bible it says no fortune telling, no speaking to the dead. Because you can't. The only dead that you can speak to would be the spirits of the dead Nephilim. That's another biblical thing. There was the children of angels and human women, and then those angels knew that they were going to take on a curse for doing this. Like, they knew that they shouldn't be doing it, and they're like, we're going to do it anyway. And they had children with human women, and then those human women became the first witches, because the angels gave these women forbidden knowledge, and then they used it. And that's the story, the origin story of the first witches. So God punished them and turned them into mermaids and closed their legs shut forever, so you can't have sex with them because they're fish. Right? And that's the story of the mermaids and the sirens. And then what happens? Those women had to go into the sea or whatever. But anyway, the children were the Nephilim, the giants of old. And God told the fallen angels, I don't like the Nephilim. That was not part of my plan. That was your guys' idea. Now you're going to have to watch your children fight each other to the death, and then whoever survives that, they're going to come after you, and then you're going to have to kill your children. And those are the Nephilim, the dead Nephilim, and their spirits walk the earth. These are the unclean spirits. When people talk about possession and demonic possession, they're talking about Nephilim. But they're also talking about demons, and that's like a whole other video, getting into how demons are made. I think demons are made when you goon. You're half of an equation. There's a man and a woman. They can join together, and that's how we get here, right? That's the act of creation. A man and a woman get married, make it sanctified, then they join together, and that tremendous moment of creation that happens during coitus. But if you're alone and you're dropping goo, or you're flicking your bean, at the moment of orgasm, energy is released, or you could say maybe a spirit's created, or half a spirit. And I think that demons are there because it's a sin. You're not supposed to masturbate. The story in the Bible of a guy who was told to marry somebody, and then he married her, but he kept spilling his seed in the ground. I think God killed that guy. So I have a theory that that may be how unclean spirits are created. Ghoulies. And they probably suffer greatly right from the first, because they're half your energy of your orgasm and half demonic fallen angel, unclean spirit, demons making demons, dead Nephilim, whatever. So God told the dead God told the fallen angels, he said, I'm going to kill your children, and then they're not getting into heaven, or not getting into hell or Hades or Sheol. They'll be doomed to walk the earth. And that's all where all the demonic possession stories and all that stuff comes from. But also I want to go into science. I don't need to hold ghost anymore. Willhelm Reich created a machine called the orgone accumulators. And Willhelm Reich was a guy who developed early weather tech or geoengineering. He had a thing called cloudburster gun. And you point it up at the sky and you can make it rain, and rain comes down. And now we have like barium rockets, we have cloud seeding. So Willhelm Reich understood something about well, making weather tech, but what he was really into was this orgone phenomena, where he claimed to be able to harvest the energy of a human orgasm and use it. Which is weird. So he made these little things. I've seen them. There's photographs of this you can see. I don't think I'm going to include slides in this video, but he made like these little wacky shacks. Looks like a portable toilet, and you go inside there and you beat off, and he harvests the energy. So apparently you can harvest the energy of your coombs, orgasm energy. But I also, another thing I'll reference is, and this is just to be silly, there's a Simpsons episode where the doctor threatens Bart Simpson, and the threat works, and then he says it had to be terror sweat. And there's something about traumatizing people. Well, let's just talk about energy harvesting, and I'll come back to traumatizing people and MK Ultra and how it relates to all of this, and energy harvesting. KPop Demon Hunters, they harvest the energy of their fans. That comes from Korean folklore, because in Korean folklore, they have witches. And they're kind of venerated and revered as shamans or whatever, even though they don't call them shamans. They call whatever Korean word for that would be. So these Korean witches dress up like men, and they wear witches' hats. They wear like big tall hats. Did you ever see K-Pop Demon Hunters, and at the end, the Saja boys come out, and they're dressed like witches? Yeah, well, that's how the female shamans, which just means like wizard, witchcraft, sorcery, all that stuff in the Bible and the Old Testament that God said, I don't want you doing any of these things, they're doing it. So they harvest the energy at the concerts, but the K-Pop Demon Hunter girls, they use it for good. And you see the energy coming out of the people's body. And you know, Korea and Japan are so close together. And in Japan they have Dragonball Z, and Goku harvests the energy of all the people of Earth for a spirit bomb. Remember that? And so that's energy harvesting. Madonna at the Super Bowl, who's pointing at the audience saying, you are now all participants in the Kabbalistic ritual. And then she does her singing and dancing, and she does her song. And because she's a witch. Kabbalah is witchcraft and sorcery and all the stuff, again, that God said in the Bible not to do. That's what people do practice Kabbalah do. It's just witchcraft, which is, you know, evil. So they're drawing their energy and their focus and attention to these things. It's like when God said, "Don't worship false idols. If you want something, ask me." God says, "I want you to love me above all else. Love your neighbor as yourself." These are commandments. These are the top 2 commandments. And he even tells us in the Bible that all the rest of the commandments fit under these 2. Love God above all else. Love your neighbor as yourself. And then the rest of the commandments fit under that. So when people do idolatry and they worship other gods and idols, you're giving your energy, your effort, your attention, and your focus to these things, as well as in some instances, like with the Incas, the Aztecs, the Mayans, and the worshippers of Baal, and outright Satanists and occultists. They're giving blood, and they're giving lives. I mean, right now, the Satanic Church in America is trying to get the right to, like, legally, as religious freedom, be allowed to sacrifice babies, which, you know, like they want to take an abortion and say we're offering this abortion to Satan, which is disgusting. But it's the energy transfer. They're saying we're giving you this worship, we're giving you blood, we're giving you blood sacrifice. There's also stuff in the Bible about, you know, when you're mourning over someone, don't cut yourself, don't cut your arms. They do cutting. This is something now that tormented teens do, and you're like, why would they do that? Why would they draw blood on their own arms and things like that? It's a blood offering to demons. It's like an ignorant, unknown. They don't know what they're doing. It's unwitting, I guess is the word I want. Unwitting blood sacrifice. Because you ask these troubled teens, like, why would you do that? And they're like, I don't know, I just do it and it makes the pain go away. Because they're being tormented by demons. It's energy harvesting. Everything I've talked about is energy harvesting. I also want to say that a Skeleton Key, which is a Stephen King story that I mentioned before, that movie, Get Out, it's just ripping off old Stephen King story.
Okay.
But anyway, the idea that they have to get you to believe, MK Ultra is about traumatizing people. You know, there's a lot about MK Ultra, but I'm just going to touch on some things. So our government, military, whatever, took like 10,000 children. That's openly known. Like they experimented on children and traumatized them in various different ways in order to get them to disassociate, and then that would attach to these children demons. So they were trying to look for kids that were that they could put powers and abilities into, all Stranger Things stuff. So they traumatized children to open them as portals to the demonic, and then once the demonic forces or unclean spirits or whatever, demons, dead Nephilim, had control over the kids' bodies, then they could use them. They could puppet the children's bodies and get them to do all this psychic phenomenon stuff.
My name is Dr. Mercurio Arborea, and I am the founder of the Arborea Institute. Through our unique blend of benign pharmacology, sensory therapy, and energy sculpting, we can guide you to a new, better, happier you.
It's very, very good. You know, this is always the highlight of my day.
And it's all done through trauma. It's all done through fear or terror. Like in the Simpsons episode where the doctor gets Bart Simpson really scared, and then he says, there you go, that's the only way to work, has to be terror sweat, which is, you know, like a loose reference to being traumatized by doctors through MK Ultra. And to get the kids to disassociate and go to another place, which means pushing them out of the way so demons can take over the body, and then you get psychic phenomenon, which is just really demonic possession phenomenon. It's one of the oldest stories of like shamanism stuff, where the shaman of the wizard, the witch doctor, the witch of the village, a warlock, whatever you want to call it, would dress up like the demon or the spirit, or like the demon from the Hindu pantheon of demons that they worship. You dress up like the demon, like Kali or whatever, and it's invoking the spirit of your ancestor's spirit or whatever deity that you worship. You dress up like it. Everyone does a ritual where the rest of the village worships and venerates the person dressed up like the demon, just to get on with it. And then the demon inhabits that, or some demon inhabits that person's body, and then they give advice to the village or whatever the demon does when it takes over the person's body. So cosplay is one of the oldest forms of shamanism. So you're drawing your attention, which would be energy, you're giving your attention, your worship, your value to demons. It's a voodoo rituals. It's openly known thing, like voodoo's the national religion of Haiti. And they're saying, look, like Haiti was in trouble, and they said, well, we're going to do rituals to demons, and that's why Haiti's all like troubled and all this weird shit about Haiti. And you know, when Haitian immigrants come around and like the pets start disappearing in the neighborhood, and it's like, are they eating them? Like, no, like their blood. I mean, I've seen it show up on the news where they're like, yeah, this lady is a new neighbor, and a cat, she's killing cats in the neighborhood and spilling their blood because she's doing voodoo rituals. And she was like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. She's just like open about it because it's her religion. So spilling the blood of animals, Santeria, where they cut chicken, they'll get blood of goat or chicken or whatever. They're killing animals, and they're not doing it to God. They're doing because God doesn't want that. He said, that's part of Jesus's story. He was born in a food trough. Jesus was born in a barn in a food trough as a sacrifice. So Jesus said, no more of this blood sacrifice stuff. I never wanted that from you. You know, you're killing you're taking animals. Everything down here on earth is mine. I'm God. You're killing my stuff and saying, here you go, and sprinkling the blood on the altar and doing this stuff for atonement for sins and on Shabbat and all this stuff. He's like, I don't want that. You guys wanted that. So Jesus comes down and he says, my blood is going to cover your sins forever until there's no more tears. Okay, so no more blood rituals, no more blood sacrifice. People still do it. So when they do it, they're not doing it to Jesus. They're doing it to demons. Okay? And the demons are harvesting that energy, and so much can be harvested that it'll be given back to the people who do the rituals. That's why when people say that, you know, who controls the world, who are the elites, the Elites, the Elohim, who are these people? They're a bunch of blood-drinking ghouls who eat the flesh of children and drink their blood, and that's how they get all their power. And a lot of people believe that a lot of developments for technology come from occult means, like Jack Parsons and Oppenheimer. These guys were all occultists. They were all hanging around with Aleister Crowley, and they were Telemites and the Lima or whatever. And the Vril Society, all this stuff, the World War II bad guys, we're all into this occult stuff and ritual sacrifice and blood sacrifice. And why? Because it gets results. They're getting energy from it. They're harvesting it. It's why Madonna's at the Super Bowl harvesting the people. If you're watching, you're a participant in this ritual. It's the reason that occult rituals that you normally don't get to see were shown. When they want to harvest our energy, they show us the ritual, which is every Super Bowl, music awards. You know, there's Katy Perry as the Scarlet Woman at the Grammys again, and then they're tired of her, so then it's Lady Gaga or Shakira or Beyonce as Sasha Fierce getting possessed. And it's energy harvesting rituals, and it's very transparent in K-Pop Demon Hunters, where they're doing the concert and they're rapping. They're harvesting the energy, like right literally out of the people's bodies, which I said up front is like the same thing as Dragonball Z. Maybe I will have to include some clips in this video or something. Or maybe they'll be at the beginning of the video. I don't know. I'll put them in here about the energy harvesting stuff. So, you know, fear. When people have strange phenomenon happening, you know, like a haunted house or something, I think that's how it works. These unclean spirits that are around, something happens and a person goes, "Ah, that was a ghost," and then they notice it. Like when places are haunted, and people will, even places that are tourist traps, will experience these phenomenon. Yeah, because you have people coming and worshiping and honoring with their attention these places, these spirits. So it's not the ghost of a miner or the ghost of some kind of person inside the old, you know, estate house. There's, oh, it's the old ghost from in the servant quarters of whatever. It's not really ghosts. They're demons, all right? When people are dead, they're in God's hands, okay? But what's here is demons and unclean spirits. And when you're giving attention to them, that's kind of like a form of value. You're giving them value. You're giving them your attention. And they're harvesting the energy, and they use it to do stuff, and so that you can see the form of a ghost or a person. When people go to the haunted manor, you know, because there's all over the country in America, and they have these places all over the world. You go visit haunted places. You're giving attention to this. It's also part of something that may not be talked about that much, but I've had personal experience with this, which is the orb phenomenon stuff, where you get a bunch of people together and you get them all worked up and excited, and you start taking pictures with the flash on outside, and then you can literally see these orbs, which is like some kind of plasma phenomenon or whatever. I don't really know what it is. But I mean, I've experienced it like over the course of a year. We used to do this orb summoning new age shit. We didn't know what we were doing. But we would start taking pictures with the intention of that we were going to get these orbs on the camera, and you could see them getting closer through the film. Keep in mind that the eye of a digital camera can see stuff, can pick up and read stuff that the human eye doesn't pick up. So we're giving our attention to, we want to see orbs, and people can do this with video too. And don't do it because you don't know what you're messing with. It's probably evil. But we did this experiment for throughout a year, and we got results. And I have a lot of pictures of this. I have evidence of this. I don't know if I'm going to include any of those because I'm going to have to block out people's faces, which I guess is easy enough to do. But you can see them coming into the frame of the pictures, because it's just like rapid fire. Just take pictures with the flash on in the night. And then even between the flashes, we could physically see them. Like, you could see them getting closer coming into the pictures. The more pictures you take, you could see the orbs getting closer until there'd be like big orbs and weird formations and stuff around the people. And the people were getting into, I don't want to call it ecstatic states. And I was one of these people, keep in mind. We were getting like worked up. Like, oh look, it's working. And then people were showing pictures, and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And the more excited the people get that are experiencing the orb photo taking party or whatever. I try not to talk about it a lot because I know that people do this, but I don't, you know, not a lot of people see my videos, but I also don't want it to take off and become a more popular thing. It seems like the orb stuff has died down, but I'm telling you, like, we did this for a year, and the more people showed up, the more crazy stuff would happen in the photos with the orbs. Like, there's pictures of me standing with other people, and then they're taking pictures of us, and you can see like big orbs above our heads. I also got friendly with a cult, and the cult knew about this orb stuff, and they were doing all kinds of weird stuff, and they were channeling and doing all this other occult shit. So when you give your attention to this stuff, you're giving energy to it, and there can be an exchange, which is the whole point of it. We're not supposed to make wishes and ask questions to spirits and do Ouija boards and all this stuff, because you do get results, but it's always evil and demonic, and these unclean spirits hate us. Maybe they'll use you for a time, but the point is always to do harm because they're evil. And you know, there's a lot of stories that you can find online now of people who are ex-psychics, and they came around to knowing that Jesus is God, and they asked for him for help when they tried everything else and nothing worked. Started out, they become a psychic, and all this crazy stuff happens to them, but then eventually it just begets, the real purposes, the real intentions are revealed, and the person gets used up, and the demons start to ruin their lives and the lives of people around them because they've harvested enough energy. And now they just openly, willfully do evil because they have enough energy. They've been harvesting energy, and that's why the Incas, the Aztecs, and the Mayans would, you know, murder people and cut their hearts out and drink the blood and shit and offer it to demons, and they'd have these temples built, and they'd spill the blood down this, you know, they had like blood gullies and all this shit, very advanced. Their society's predicated on worshipping demons. The statues to Baal, where they'd have bull-headed statues of the Baal family or whatever. It was like a family of people with horns or whatever. And they would worship and honor and venerate them. And people would offer up their children. They'd put it on these statues with fire in the bellies, these hot metal statues, and then the babies would burn and it would smell like bacon, and they were offering their children because of things that they wanted. And it always ends horribly, because instead of asking God for help, you're giving value and worship to what's evil and demonic, and all these things hate us, by the way. So it's always deceptive. Some people give energy to unclean spirits to the point where they're having sex with them. There are people that talk about having like a ghost lovers and stuff, and they've gone on talk show circuits and they tell their stories online. And there's also some people that tell the stories that they like these stories. It's the plot of that recent Nosferatu movies. Dave Eggers is a bad guy, and he made the Nosferatu movie, and it's Johnny Depp's daughter. Don't watch it, by the way. Johnny Depp's daughter summons an evil spirit to come to her, and then it just destroys her life and ravishes her and all these things, and it's evil, and this shit happens to people. And you know, some people talk about it like it's a horror story for them, like that basically they were sexually assaulted by unclean spirits or demons, or, you know, dead Nephilim, or whatever you want to believe about that. But then other people sort of welcome it, and they like it for a time, and then sometimes it you know, pretty much inevitably turns ugly once it's gone on long enough, and it ruins these people's lives. And this is because these demons, these unclean spirits, this is realm of incorporeal. They don't have material embodiment, and they want to, because some of these spirits had material embodiment, and as punishment from God, they don't have it anymore, and now they're doomed to walk back and forth through the earth, and go to dry and lonely places and stuff like that, and stuff that's in the Bible where, you know, if you don't do it right, you cast one demon out of a guy, and then they go back to their life, and then the demon goes and finds 7 more demons and says, come on, I used to live here, and then they storm that person's body, and then you have 7 demons, making it worse than just the one demon that was cast out, because demons are legalistic in their ways. So you know, you get an exorcism, and then you go back to doing, you know, bad stuff, and it leaves openings for the demons to come back in. That's how they are. They're like, well, the person's doing this and that and this, Lord, so that means we can go back to him. And then the demons go back into the person. But the point of this video was that by giving, like, in summation, like, even if you believe in demons, you should just say that you don't believe in them, and that they're weak, and that they don't have power. Because they don't. We have to give it to them. And that's what rituals are for, where people do like satanic rituals or New Age rituals and stuff like that. You give your energy to it, or you value and worship things that you shouldn't. Like people like Jack Parsons doing rituals to Pan, and all these guys, like the guy who's L. Ron Hubbard founded Scientology. Excuse me. All these guys were hanging around together doing you know, paddling each other off and doing their occult rituals and eating cakes of light with Aleister Crowley and spirit cooking and all this shit. You're giving your attention to the demonic and getting results, but they want something too, and what they want really is blood. They want evil, they want your bodies. So and that's what they found out through a lot of the research of the MK Ultra stuff, was that they were doing occult stuff. They were traumatizing people. And you can see it in Stranger Things. It's very transparent. They open a portal to the demonic, and then the demonic comes through into our world and wreaks havoc.
Hi everyone, I am a gay homosexual.
Ew!
Sick! Bro, what are you even talking about?
And that's what they were, that's what, you know, they were doing when they did the MK Ultra experiments. And now they're doing mass MK Ultra, where they want to traumatize people and open them as portals to the demonic. Because as it turns out, the richest people in the world, a lot of them are occultists, and some of these are generational families where they've been knowingly, willingly doing witchcraft and ritual sacrifices. And, you know, there are people that say that our wars and stuff are ritual blood sacrifices. Hey, the rich people are starting up another war, and then people fight each other and lay down their lives, and then they harvest the energy. But really, it's the demons and the people who start the wars harvest the energy. Or, you know, the charge that serial killers, when they recount what it was that they went through, they get some kind of charge out of the murders and stuff like that. And then also they get destroyed. Like you're ruining your soul. You're giving away pieces of your soul. You're crossing over transhumanism. You're crossing over from being human into something else. What I would say would be being degraded. You're selling pieces of your soul, you know, whether you know it or not, until there's like nothing left and you're just a shell or a husk of a person. And that's why we're not to give our energy or attention to demons. Like sometimes you'll hear people that believe in God, know that Jesus is God, and they know about demons, but they'll tell you like, yeah, but don't believe in them, because they don't want you to give energy or attention to that. So if you have these, you know, like some people have these experiences that go on for years, like decades of like sleep paralysis, where they don't get sleep for a long, you know, good sleep for years, and they're under spiritual warfare. And part of that, I think, is that in a way they're kind of, through their fear, they're giving energy and attention to these demonic forces, these dark forces, and then it keeps the whole thing going. And you know, it's having an influence over your life. And I think that's probably the point of horror movies and stuff, like all these movies where you see the disgusting things happen. Yeah, there's demons around. You're watching, you know, like movies and TV shows, a lot of the stuff is spell casting. When the credits roll at the end of the movie or TV show, it'll say cast. And then everything after that is the cast. You thought it was just the actors doing the performances of playing the parts? No. Best Boy, Grip, Dolly, all these people are part of the cast. They're all helping to cast the spell. And the spell is the movie or the TV show. You watch it, you give perhaps multiple emotional responses for different emotions. And then the demons that are around everywhere, watching, listening, in us in a lot of instances, and probably in most cases. I mean, I would say most people are lousy with demons like fleas on a mangy hound, which sucks, I know. But, you know, don't feed them. So, you know, don't watch horror movies, which are horrible rituals and spells and stuff like that. You're watching the thing and you're doing a form of ritual, like when, if it was your shaman in the village and the shaman did the dance of Kali or whatever it is, or Vishnu or whatever this bullshit is. Bullshit. 2 A's, 1 L, all shit. and everybody's paying attention to this show or they're participants in it, that's the demon summoning thing. And you do this when you watch movies and TV shows. If you're, you know, if you're not watching it with your head about you, like, you know, maybe like I'm gonna watch this not for entertainment, because maybe you make videos to explain to people why they shouldn't watch A24 films, for example. I've seen a bunch of A24 films. Don't watch them, because it just it's Ari Aster's evil. He drinks blood, and it just, they're going to tell you that aren't white people weird, and everything, you know, and all the things that A24 films are, which is shit, and they're bad for you, so don't watch them. But like, don't watch Hereditary or any of these things. They're just rituals and they're spells, and they want you to be disturbed, and that's energy harvesting. And it goes for whatever rituals they did when they made the movies, or whatever their intentions and purposes were trying to scare you. It's going to demons, and the demons are present when you watch these things, and they're harvesting their energy, harvesting your energy. And the more people get worked up about these things, it can make like the haunted house even worse, because they're believing in it. And then the more they believe in it, the more new it. I'm going to burn sage, and then it's just stirring up more shit, more psychic stuff, or whatever you want to call it. And the demons are harvesting that and getting more energy and getting more powerful and trying out stuff and making stuff fly off the table, or opening the curtains, or making demonic noises, or people get scratched, wake up with scratches and shit like that. That's how they get energy. You're giving more attention to them. So do not fear, do not become dispirited, and don't give them any power. Like, your thoughts about demons, if you're having nightmares, should be, when you pray to God, like, God, how do I kill him? I want to kill him, I want to get him. And demons are around, so they hear these things, and then it makes them afraid, and they don't want to be around. They don't want to be in your sleep and your dreams. And a lot of people do get preyed upon in their sleep and their dreams by unclean spirits and demons. That's why you should want to call out for Jesus. Or like, do you ever have a dream where, like, you know that there's like a demon or something, and you just want to go get it? Like, I've had dreams with like killing dragons and fighting dragons and stuff. And like finding like twisting them and grinding them. And a lot of times, if there's demons in your dreams, you're having like nightmares and stuff like that. They don't want to be there. Like, if you actually want to fight back, they just want to leave, and then you wake up. But the fear they like, you know, they want you to be afraid, terrified. Oh, there's a shadow thing. They're weak. You need to keep this in mind. They're more powerful in the blurring between boundaries between corporeal and incorporeal. This is what happens with psychedelic experiences, where you have a bunch of bozos like Joe Rogan, who's a bozo, and he's saying, oh God, you haven't lived unless you had psychedelic experience and DMT and all this stuff. And that's blurring boundaries. When you're taking psychedelic drugs, you're blurring boundaries between corporeal and incorporeal, and that's where the Terrence McKenna machine elves and all this bullshit people, I saw the purple DMT lady and all this stuff. You don't want to see those things. Or the Benadryl guy, or the Hat Man, or Jaggy Leg Bones, or whatever, or the Slender Man, or whatever this shit is. Yeah, you don't want to, you don't take psychedelics, don't do these drugs. What do people tell you that are on prescription dope? They take Ambien or Lunesta or whatever, and they have funky dreams, because they've taken pharmakeia, which God told us not to do. They've taken drugs. This is witchcraft, sorcery, this stuff. They've taken the drugs developed by pharmaceutical companies. They're named after pharmakeia. It's like pharmakeia, pharmaceutical. That's where that comes from. What's the pharmaceutical symbol? It's the wand of Caduceus, where it has two serpents climbing up a staff. That's the doctor. That's witchcraft, right? So people are taking these drugs and having funky dreams because they blurred the boundaries between corporeal and incorporeal. And it is what happens when we sleep, but it's next level stuff when you take drugs to do it, or melatonin even. And that's why people have funky dreams. You're being messed with. And then if you want to see more on dreams, warfare, spiritual warfare in your sleep and your dreams, then you can go check out my playlist called Dreams, Spiritual Warfare in the Astral Realm, or Spiritual Warfare in the Dream Realm. I forget what the title of the playlist is anymore. Most of the thumbnails are just like, it's like 5 or 6 videos of Freddy Krueger and as the thumbnail. And if you want to see those, and you can see about like fighting, you know, like breaking evil covenants and sleep and dreams and stuff. But I just wanted to talk about how like demons are weak, and you don't want to be afraid of them. You don't want to give your attention to them, but also you don't want to go just like ignorantly going around without God telling you that's what he wants you to do, and just like, I'm going in this haunted house, I'm gonna do, you know, don't go around doing stupid stuff. And that's, you know, people go into these haunted places like ghost hunters and all this Zach Baggins and all this nonsense stuff. I mean, it is kind of potentially dangerous. People going willfully as Ghostbusters in haunted places because they want to experience stuff. Yeah, maybe you will, because you're giving your attention and your energy to the demonic, which is around, especially if you go to places where it happens a lot. And you're just sort of like opening portals in these places where you shouldn't be anyway, doing shit you shouldn't do, and you're stirring it up, and you're energizing it. And then a bunch of other bozos that you don't even know go into the same haunted place, and they're stirring a bunch of shit up and have PKE meters or whatever this ghost detecting bullshit is they have. And you're just giving attention. It's like veneration, honor, and worship. You're giving attention to this stuff. The invention of the cathode tube, which is what television is predicated on. They were trying to talk to ghosts. They weren't trying to make TV that you and I watch. They were trying to make a device that could speak to the spirit realm. And that's the invention of the cathode tube. And then they used it to make TV. But originally they were trying to talk to ghosts. That's why TV exists, because they were trying to talk to ghosts, basically. And now look at how they use TV as a channel between us and the spirit realm. Look at the Super Bowl rituals. Everybody's complaining about Bad Bunny and whatever he did. Or the Gothard Tunnel celebration. I was going to mention it earlier and I just trailed off to somewhere else. But yeah, sometimes they want us to see the rituals. One of the rituals they wanted us to see, to finish that point that I talked about earlier in this video, was they wanted us to see the Gothard Tunnel celebration. They wanted us to see that ritual. So they shot it, you know, beautifully shot it and everything, and showed you the part inside they showed you inside the hangar, they showed you inside the tunnel, and then they showed you a performance outside the tunnel where it was all weirdly symbolic, and the guy's literally wearing a goat head. A mock orgy happens, he bangs a scarlet woman, a demon is born, and the audience is all people that are wearing white gloves and suit and coattails with monocles and look like an audience of the Monopoly guy, except that they drink blood and shit. And they wanted you to see that. They wanted you to see the Gothard Tunnel celebration to make you a participant in the ritual. So don't watch the Gothard Tunnel celebration. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Maybe you want to watch other people's highlight reels of it, because you're not getting the whole ritual. They're just commenting on, here's the Nephilim, here's the devil having sex with the scarlet woman, here's the demon spawn, and here's the lives that were sacrificed for a CERN or whatever bullshit it is. So I just wanted to talk about that, to not give it your energy and attention. And that's why some people who are Christians will say, but they don't believe in the demons and stuff. Good, that's good for them that they don't believe in it. But some people know, okay, but that is real, and they know about that level of spiritual warfare. But it's good, I would say, that people are kind of like shielded from that. But I feel like what I wanted to do with this video is talk about, yes, this stuff is true, but don't give it power or authority. The power of our words is to have more authority over them. They want us. They want our bodies. They want our blood. So we don't give it to them. And we don't give them our attention and focus. Like, I'm talking about it, but I'm telling you that they're weak. I'm telling you, do not fear. Do not become dispirited. If you have a sleep paralysis experience, call out for Jesus' name and ask him to come help you. Or, you know, maybe what happens to me sometimes is I should be calling out Jesus' name, and I just get bold and I just get angry, and I'm like, I want the demon, and then they wake up. They don't like that. They don't want to fight. They want your fear. That they can use. But if you're not afraid, then what are they going to do with that? They want to get out of there. Like, this guy knows about Jesus. I've got to, you know, I've had them laugh at me and with the dream stuff, where I'm like, I'm scared, and then I'm thinking, Jesus, what do I say? Like something Jesus, and then they laugh, ha ha ha, and I just got pissed off, and then the demon was like, oh, I'm out of here. So I didn't even get the words Jesus out of my mouth. They knew what I was thinking, because it's their territory, the astral realm. And then they're like, ha ha ha, he's not even saying it. And then I just got pissed and I just kicked at it, and then and I woke up from the dream. I didn't like that at all. So do not fear, do not become dispirited. And yeah, like the New Age thing, energy flows where attention goes. So you're not supposed to give your attention to this stuff. And you know, like if you feel like you have a haunted apartment or something like that, then you just reclaim it. In the name of Jesus Christ, I reclaim this place from the forces of darkness. I command you to leave. Mean it. Get out of here. You can't be here anymore. Pray Psalm 23, Psalm 91. Maybe there's some Psalms you like. I like Psalm 25, Prayer for All of Life. When I pray for the world, I say, God, this is for us. And I change it from I, me, to we, us, our, and include the whole world. People like me struggling, trying to find God. Call me back, all that kind of thing. Call me back, Lord. I keep leaving messages on you. God's answering machine. When are you going to call me back? Pray to God. Do not fear. Do not become dispirited. Do not give your focus, your energy, attention to them. Like Ghost, when, you know, you thought it was Whoopi Goldberg and Demi Moore were having a three-way with Patrick Swayze in this movie. No, it wasn't even Patrick Swayze, and not for real. It's a demon. So, so people don't turn into ghosts. It's a fantasy. It's a deception. The idea of a ghost lover is nothing new. This whole movie's about that. When we die, we're in God's hands. But what's here to trouble us is demons and unclean spirits, dead Nephilim, which again is unclean spirits. Demons, however they're made. Maybe they're made when you drop goo. That's a theory. I don't know about that. There's also fallen angels. There's also probably like the dead spirits of whatever creatures there used to be on the earth in the olden days, all that shit. So anyway, I just want to talk about these things. I hope it was useful for you, because that's why I make these for YouTubes. I don't even have a Jesus t-shirt to sell you, okay? So I hope this was useful. I hope you got something out of this. And do not fear, and do not give attention to these things. No Ouija boards, no tarot cards, no witchcraft, no sorcery, no necromancy, no talking to the dead. None of that stuff. It's all demons. Just stay away. Pray to God. Don't make wishes.
Bro, what are you even talking about?
Okay.